Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Down by Contact Football, DBC Football Podcast, episode number 18. We've entered adulthood.
We have.
There you go. I am Dylan, your host, and I am, as always, joined here by Tom. Tom, how we doing?
Very good, very good.
Okay, thanks for lying. Bill, how we doing?
Greetings and salutations. I'm
All right, yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks.
That is good to hear. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DBC_football. I know the Instagram's live, but not quite sure about that Twitter. Check us out on YouTube, DBC Football, or on the web at www.dbcfootball.com. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe us and share us with your friends. Sharing is caring.
That's what they tell us.
That is what they tell us. Well, the vaunted preseason week 3 is in the books. We are getting so much closer to the holiday followed by football. Very much looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, I think I'll talk about the news around the league.
Go for it.
Awesome. A tip of the hat to Tom. We talked about this on the last 2 shows, but now it is officially official. DeShone Kizer has been named the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, just like Tom called. Good job, Tom.
Thanks.
Your greatest accomplishment thus far in life.
I got married, so that might be up there.
Shucks. Well, there's that.
I mean, and he married your sister, so it's hard for you to...
Yeah, he is a Cowboys fan, though. So, hard to be excited about that. Yeah. Anywho, DeShone Kizer, obviously the best physical specimen of a quarterback that the Cleveland Browns have had in quite some time. And don't even try to say Johnny Manziel, Tom. I know you're a fan. RG3. I got your RG3. Anyhow.
You know who they don't have, though? Carson Wentz.
That's true. They very well could have had Carson Wentz.
So could the Rams.
They had the pick.
So could the Titans.
Well, I mean, they just drafted Mariota.
I'm just saying. Those are the only teams that had the opportunity while we were on the subject.
Do you know what hate drafting is, Tom?
Yeah, I've done it.
I mean, if I had Tom Brady, and let's just say I'm the Baltimore Ravens, and I have a 46-year-old Tom Brady as my starter, and I've got Jimmy Garoppolo as my backup.
How old would he be then?
It doesn't
32?
matter. Whatever. I have 2 really good quarterbacks, and I'm 1 pick ahead of the Browns, and there's a franchise quarterback. I'm taking him, so that Cleveland cannot.
Yeah.
Even if I bought the team?
Oh, that's right. You bought Cleveland. Yes, then definitely. Every year I will trade up 1 spot ahead of them.
Just to take a quarterback.
And take a quarterback. But, hey, Tom, I'm going to let you take the floor. Tell me what you like about DeShone Kizer and why he's going to be successful.
I mean, obviously his arm talent's there. I mean, yeah.
Is it obvious?
Brock Osweiler has the talent, or arm talent.
He did go to Notre Flame.
Yeah, but Brock Osweiler is Brock Osweiler. Cody Kessler, I mean, he's pretty much a career backup, so...
It's so sad that you just named him a career backup, and he's in his 2nd year in the NFL.
I mean, he's got very similar skill set to Kellen Moore. Are you going to say...
Man, I give him more than Kellen Moore. You got to give him Colt McCoy. Give him Colt McCoy.
Has a stronger arm than he does.
By saying that he has a skill set, he's better than Kellen Moore.
Right.
I said similar. I didn't say they were the same player. But
far from the same player.
I mean, he has a good dynamic. He can create plays with his legs, too, which neither of the other 2 quarterbacks can really do. Just adds a little spice to their offense.
Is that all you got? That's why he's going to be successful?
Yeah, I mean...
All right. Well, I thought I'd give you the floor. You were all DeShone Kizer the past 3 weeks.
Hey.
I mean, he's got arm strength. He's pretty big dude, but
yeah.
He's 6'4", I think.
But mobile at the same time.
Yeah. I mean,
again, sounds like someone they could have had.
He's lacking in accuracy, but that's what they say. Hey, we can teach a young guy to be more accurate, but you can't teach him leadership and those
work ethic.
those air quote intangibles.
When Josh Gordon comes back and just
lob
it up there.
In other news, Patriots wide receiver Julian Edelman has torn his ACL and he is out for the season. Fantasy impact.
Possibly.
Danny Ammon Dola.
I was not going to bring that up, being that he's like one of the receivers I drafted.
There you go.
I was certainly not bringing that up.
That was foresight.
Again, obviously,
George Kittle.
obviously Brandon Cooks, but then again, obviously Tom Brady. So
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah. So we'll talk about it a little bit later when we go over the games. But Chris Hogan also balled out. So,
He did.
But I do think, and Bill Belichick, who's historically tight-lipped, himself said Amendola is gonna take over Edelman's position in the offense, as well as on special teams.
It's a thing that makes
It's
sense.
nice to have two players that are almost identical
Right.
in size and
Literally
stature,
everything.
and literally everything.
I mean, that's been true since they've been there together. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say Edelman's a bit more athletic, but
Absolutely.
aside from that, they're
He's
They're
Edelman light.
yeah, which is not bad.
Yeah. Sometimes you need the diet soda.
Especially when your quarterback is Tom Brady and your coach is Bill Belichick. I mean, Czech, sorry.
Haters gonna hate. Also, getting the injury bug out here is Kansas City. I apologize. It's Kansas City. Spencer Ware tore his PCL and is likely to miss the entire season. Big news for Kareem Hunt because he has looked pretty darn good in the preseason thus far. And potentially good news to get a handcuff in Charkandrick West. You know, I would recommend him now, whereas I previously had him as undraftable if you're in 16-team leagues or fewer. But now, Chark West, good handcuff to have.
Yeah.
You know, go Chiefs. Doing
Sure.
a tomahawk chop right now.
Uh-huh.
Vontae Davis, the starting corner for the Indianapolis Colts, has suffered a serious groin injury and will miss significant time. This is scary if you're a Colts fan. Andrew Luck is still nowhere to be found.
They lost their best offensive player and their best defense.
And now they've lost their best defensive player. And by the way, through 3 preseason games, I don't think they've stopped anyone on a single drive yet.
Probably
Feel
not.
free to fact check me on that, but they have looked awful on defense.
I only have 1%, so I can't.
Fair enough. It was a hyperbolic statement, but they've looked awful. Their defense has been retooled, and obviously it's taken some time for them to mesh and gel together. But boy,
Big hit to that trying to mesh thing.
so much that division being up for grabs. Well, it looks like it might be Houston and Tennessee's race to
Hey,
lose.
don't sleep on the Jaguar.
So we'll get to that later.
They can sleep on themselves.
Seems that way. Matt Stafford is now the highest paid player in the NFL. 5-year, $135 million contract extension. Bill, is Matt Stafford worth a $135 million contract extension?
I don't think that there's anybody that thinks he is. I mean, obviously, Detroit shelled out the money for him, but Detroit has had a dearth of quarterback talent for how many years? And maybe he's not necessarily the best. He certainly hasn't won any playoff games. He's 0-3, as I recall. But, they feel like he's still good and he can still work with them. They can possibly, if they can actually get the players around him, they can do something. But I'd be surprised if it pans out. That much money is, it's just ludicrous to me, to be frank.
Yeah, he just put some money in Drew Brees' pocket. I'll tell you that much. Tom, what do you think? Stafford worth it? Buy or sell?
I sell it. When you think about it,
You're going to give one of these halfway answers that you love to do?
When you think about it, is really any player in the NFL worth millions of dollars? No, but
Yeah. Tom, I'm pretty sure the Patriots feel that the multiple Super Bowls were worth the contract values that they've given to Tom Brady. Would you, as an owner, pay $40 million for one Super Bowl?
What I'm saying more is are people worth millions of dollars to play a game? Obviously, that's the business of the NFL.
I think you're taking this further than the question was meant to be taken.
I'm just saying, but in the grand scheme of things, he's a quarterback. Who,
in the current NFL landscape,
yes,
and the way the market is, and people get paid what they get paid, is Matt Stafford on par with Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers?
No, he's not on par with them.
Okay.
He's the top 10 quarterback, but he's more just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. If anything, the way he's played with Jim Bob Cooter got him paid.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly wouldn't have made him the highest paid player in the NFL, but maybe they had to keep him around. Gives me a lot of joy thinking the Redskins might have to pay Kirk Cousins that much money.
Or anybody else out there.
Put them in salary cap purgatory, right?
After they just got out of it a year ago.
You see how he's played so far in the preseason, so we'll see if that's even a thing. That's a question, isn't it?
That's a question. So, no, I don't think Stafford's worth it. And I'll be honest, I'm a Stafford fan. there aren't many gunslingers left in the NFL.
He's one of them.
He's one of them. He's fun to watch, but I'll never forget the game his rookie year with the limp arm, and he beat Cleveland on the last play of the game. Awesome play, gutsy game for Stafford. Didn't want to leave the game. It was awesome. But I'm sorry, 0-3 in the playoffs, and he's not a spring chicken. Man, that's a steep
just shows you how,
it's a steep price tag.
How desperate people are to just have a decent quarterback on their team.
Right, absolutely. It's definitely desperation. If I can retort what Tom said about the players being worth millions of dollars, we might not think that way. But if they invest X however many millions of dollars into their entire personnel, say players, coaches, everything, and they recoup all that money plus some, they make a profit, then by definition, from a capitalistic standpoint, they are worth the money. Just throwing that out there.
Well, you guys had a conversation on a different level than I wanted to go, so. Anywho, the New York Jets, they suck. I don't... That's the news. That's actually the news around the league. The New York Jets suck.
Is that
That's not really news.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Has that been covered before?
Maybe.
I feel like that's been mentioned.
Long ago were the days of Fireman Ed standing up on his platform having a great time. The early Rex Ryan era seems like it never happened. Anyway, I bring up the Jets because they actually do have some news. Matt Forte is available via trade. Coming off a season where he had over 800 yards rushing and about 240 receiving, I think 236, a couple scores. $4 million contract, but I certainly think for a playoff caliber team, maybe one that recently suffered an injury, could really use him. I mean, I know of a coach who runs the West Coast system that everyone has always said Matt Forte would be perfect for.
I'm assuming that's Andy Reid.
Andy Reid in Kansas City. Match made in heaven there. If KC can pull the trigger and have a Kareem Hunt, Matt Forte 1-2 punch, watch out now. Matt Forte, he may be getting older, but again, behind a terrible offensive line in New York, he put up 850 rushing yards last year. And he's never played less than 12 games in a season.
It's pretty.
That's impressive. That's impressive. So, he's one of the best pass-catching running backs of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think he gets traded? We'll start with you, Tom. What do you think?
I mean, not many teams are going to want to give picks away for. I think he's the oldest running back in the league, or one of the oldest.
No, Frank Gore is older than he is. Forte's 31.
Well, still,
he's not young.
He already broke that 30 plateau. I mean, he's obviously not really getting better. He's just kind of staying constant. So I really don't think teams are going to give up anything for that.
Wow, selling low on the Forte. What do you think, Bill?
I mean, I could see possibly a team like a Kansas City. They're a good example because they're a team that's been competitive every year for the past few years anyway. I don't know if they will, though.
Yeah. Now, the rumor is that maybe New York will be willing to eat half of that salary. Is it a different conversation if it's a $2 million contract?
Sure.
I certainly think it is. And I wouldn't put it past Bill Belichick. Just go out and get a 19th running back.
Yeah, true.
Right? So
have half the roster of running backs.
Just go into the season, mix it up, actually. Go in the season with 4 receivers and 7 running backs. Just mix it up.
We'll see. If you get Forte, 3 of the running backs can pretty much be receivers.
Yeah, you got Deion Lewis and James White. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And Rex Burkhead.
It's not like they're known for having good tight ends or anything.
Never that. Also on the trade market, the Cleveland Browns are having a fire sale to jump back into Cleveland here. Watch out for the North Coast. Joe Hayden, Cam Irving, and Brock Lobster, also known as Brock Osweiler, are all available via trade. Joe Hayden has not played like a professional player since he received his contract extension. Cam Irving is a first-round bust, and Brock Osweiler is a vastly overpaid quarterback. Mm-hmm. Anybody want to trade for one of those guys?
Maybe a late round pick for Hayden, but that's about it.
Yeah.
The other 2 guys really aren't worth
I can
anything.
get with that.
Yeah. Okay. The 49ers have traded tight end Vance McDonald, making George Kittle the starter, to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 4th-round draft pick. I have to say, I have to throw this out there. My father, in a fantasy league we're in together, drafted George Kittle in, I believe, the 8th round, 7th or 8th round. We mentioned it last week on the podcast.
He said he was going to be the starter.
And he said he was going to be the starter. Now, he is so humble about it right now. Dylan said facetiously. But no, he was doing some digging, and he must have found an article straight out of San Francisco or something. But what do you think of Vance McDonald to the Steelers for a 4th-round pick?
I mean, he's a solid tight end. It just gives them an extra.
He's a receiver
on that offense.
I mean, he's really a receiver.
I mean, they don't really throw it to the tight end too often, but it just.
What did Mike Tomlin said? They made the trade because he didn't have any varsity guys at tight end. I don't really know what that means, but it really hurts the fantasy stock of one Jesse James, who was projected as the clear starter. Now, once Vance McDonald gets up to speed with the playbook, there'll probably be about a 60-40 split in James' favor. We shall see.
Okay.
Yeah.
TJ Ward is also available via trade. The Denver Broncos willing to part ways with the long-tenured, hard-hitting safety. Another player with a big contract, I believe $4.35 million due to him this year. I don't think it's realistic unless a team who thinks they can win now gets desperate. Something to keep your eyes out for. Joe Flacco has returned to throwing. He's not yet practicing, but he's out there hucking the ball around. What do we think? We think Joe Flacco makes it back week 1?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that was the whole... From the beginning, they said he should be ready by then.
That's what they've been saying. It's been shady, though.
Different on that luck status.
Yeah. No one knows. Madden has been released, as it is every year in August. Tom, why don't you give us your quick review? How long have you had it now?
I got it the day it came out, Friday.
Oh, it came out on a Friday. I thought games came out on Tuesdays.
Generally, they do.
I must be
the
getting
Go
older.
edition came out on Tuesday, but the regular edition came out. I wasn't paying $20 extra for pretty much the same game.
Frugality, I like it. So, Tom, what did you think of Madden this year?
I mean, Madden...
Is it worth buying?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I buy Madden every single year. But, I mean, it's essentially the same game. You get the... Really the only good thing about it is you get all the rookies and stuff coming in this year.
Call of Duty Football Edition.
Yeah, the graphics, are a little bit better. The play style's a little bit better, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same game.
Yeah. I gotta say, I mean, this will be the first time I don't buy Madden since 2001-ish.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I had Madden 64 when it came out, and then I had every subsequent Madden except for 2001, and then everyone after that up until now. So, I just don't have time for the video games, That's why I stick with the fantasy football. It keeps me in the thick of things. But, good for you Madden players. Getting your game on.
It's like pretty much all I play.
Do you?
And I've never owned a copy of Madden. I don't play sports games. I love football.
I believe you.
I love football, and I do actually enjoy video games, but
just don't.
I don't like sports games.
Combine the two.
Yes.
There you go. Hey, Devontae Freeman is out of the concussion protocol, so for all of you that drafted him in the first round,
good for you.
Good for you.
Also, you're dead.
Hey, I've done it before.
A not so good draft pick. I drafted Vontaze Burfict in my IDP draft.
Ooh, that's a blow.
And then he was hit with a 5-game suspension, I believe, hours later.
Because
that was nice.
He is a scumbag.
Well, that's an opinion. It may not be a wrong opinion, but it's certainly an opinion.
I wasn't judging you for the pick.
No, he's a
good player.
It's a lot of fantasy points. But it does stink. And for anyone that drafted him or any Bengals fans, hi mom, you're going to be without Vontaze Burfict for probably 3 to 5 games, as he will appeal. And these kind of appeals do tend to maybe drop a game or two. So
that's about it.
I would think anywhere from 3 to 5 games, since he's a repeat offender. We'll see what happens. The Bengals are claiming it was a perfectly legal hit on Anthony Sherman of the Chiefs. I certainly beg to differ, but hey, the league may feel different.
I mean, and that's Burfict has, again, he says a second offender. He has a history of this stuff. Remember the
Antonio Brown.
The game of the playoffs against Pittsburgh. He was quite instrumental in the Bengals pretty much just melting down in the latter half of that game.
Epic meltdown. So now Adam Jones.
Him and Adam Jones.
Yeah, well, who is also suspended for 1 game this year.
Yeah. Also a stand-up guy.
Yeah, remember the time he beat up his own bodyguard in a strip club in Dallas?
I wanted to see if he would be able to protect it.
There you go. You gotta test him out.
Exactly.
Who did he play for at the time?
The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thought I heard that somewhere.
That's not even included in that suspension metric I gave a few weeks ago. Other
like 08, wasn't it?
might have been a little after that, Tom. Cameron Meredith, the starting wide receiver for the Chicago Bears, who looked pretty good this preseason, went ahead and tore his ACL. Did anybody draft him that's sitting at this table in our fantasy league?
It wasn't me, and
Certainly wasn't me.
Tom's kind of like nodding his head with this like half grin on his face.
Yeah. Now, I want to throw this out there. Like people accuse fantasy football players of being not sensitive enough to player injuries. It sucks that this guy got hurt. It's bad for his career, and hopefully he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are legitimate concerns that it's Teddy Bridgewater level, that it's multiple ligaments, that he may miss multiple years or possibly never play again. So obviously that's sad.
That's super
not
sad.
anything anyone ever wants to see. But from a fantasy football perspective, I want to beat Tom.
Yeah.
So, there's that. I do feel terrible for that guy and his family, and, I'm sure he's going through a terrible time.
When Jordy Nelson got hurt and I had drafted Randall Cobb, I wasn't happy he got hurt. He's a phenomenal player. Yeah. He's obviously the best. Well, he's Aaron Rodgers' best receiver anyway.
So don't get all millennial on us.
Yeah, it's still sad. It sucks when people get hurt.
But, fantasy football brings us joy. And if Tom loses, it brings me more joy.
So spread the joy by,
hurting
yourselves.
Speaking of injuries not bringing Tom joy, starting linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, Anthony Hitchens, he has a tibial plateau fracture in his right knee and will miss 8 to 10 weeks of football. Likely meaning he's probably done for the season, but we shall see. I mean, I would imagine the Cowboys wouldn't have very many wins in 10 weeks, especially being without Zeke Elliott for 6.
I don't know, man. Dax looked good.
6 games. Dax looked great.
And
he said sarcastically.
Speaking of desperate for secondary players, yeah.
Their guys are coming back. They had some hammy issues.
Hammy?
Yeah, so Dallas is going to need to beat everyone by a score of 45 to 40 to remain competitive this year.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Back to the New York Jets. They still suck. Breaking news. But they have named Josh McCown their starter. So, they've thrown their season in the trash can.
I mean, you really wanted to see one of the two young guys try to take that.
Bryce Petty will never be a good starter in this league, and I think everyone in the world knows that, even if you don't watch football. But, at some point you do have to throw Hack out there and see if he was a waste of a second-round pick.
Yeah.
It's kind of looking like that through 2 preseasons, but, we'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He's still only 21 in his second year. So, a lot can change in a couple years, but we shall see. Josh McCown is, 87 and a half years old.
For his 32nd team in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's played for, every team. But, I don't know. We'll see. I think the Jets are the front runner for the number 1 overall pick next year. Speaking of crappy teams, Blake Bortles has been named the Week 1 starter of the Jacksonville Jaguars, edging out Chad Henne and the Night King. So, he has that going for him. What do we think? What do we think about Blake Bortles? What's he going to do this year?
Doug Marrone said since he's been renamed the starter, he's looked the best he's ever seen. So we'll see.
Don't we all? Do I look the best you've ever seen?
No.
No, that's kind of depressing.
I mean, you might look the least ugliest that you've ever been.
It must be the beard. That's what I think it is.
It's covering your face.
Right, exactly. There's less surface area of my face
exposed.
That's
why I got one.
There you go. Tom, you should join the group.
Yeah.
Grow a beard.
Getting a little scruffy.
Listeners, Tom doesn't have a beard. Check him out on the website, www.dbcfootball.com.
Hey, Tom, you're married now. You don't have to worry about
I have a goatee. It's a little scruffy. I want to try something new.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Nothing's coming to the mind. Another trade in the NFL happened this week. Reggie Ragland was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, which I think is a brilliant trade on behalf of the Chiefs. The Bills continue to stockpile draft picks. I think they have 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s now, and I also believe 2 7s. They are just like they're going to have 2 of every round. They're going to draft 14 players and just go to town. They're going to get some comp picks next year too. They can end up with another 3, a 4, a 5, maybe a 6. Look out, Buffalo fans! Your team's going to have a whole bunch of draft picks that they're going to waste on crappy players. I'm on a roll today. Here we go. Another trade. John Dorenbos, long snapper, Philadelphia Eagles, has been traded to the New Orleans Saints for a draft pick.
Longest tenured player.
He's 37 years old, long snapper. Who trades a long snapper for a draft pick? The Saints gave up a draft pick for a long snapper.
For 7th round, right?
7th round, still.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like when he injured himself, he broke his hand last year.
Right.
You saw like that can be a problem if you don't have a backup.
Well, we survived without him.
Yeah.
So
it is true.
And we had our most efficient kicking season in Eagles history. So, surprise, surprise, it was Caleb Sturgis going 31 of 35, edging out David Akers. So, see you, John Dorenbos. We'll miss you, Magic Man. Certainly a lot of love for him in the city. Obviously, he was a finalist on America's Got Talent. I remember at the draft, he got a pretty good ovation when he came out and did some magic tricks, and he's pretty darn good at it.
He was at the Huddle Up for Autism thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's seemingly at that every year. So, seems like an all-around good guy.
Sure.
New Orleans is getting a heck of a locker room leader.
Yeah.
So, Texans Cowboys preseason game this week is being moved to Fort Worth, the Jury World, due to the flooding in Texas. So, if you're into that sort of thing, prayers and whatnot to Texas and victims of the flood.
Was it originally supposed to be played in Houston, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So flooding in the Houston area. A lot of different teams and players have come to the aid of, the Houston and areas in Texas that are being damaged by the flood. Something like over $3 million from the NFL has already been raised, and J.J. Watt is trying to raise $4 million himself. So good for them.
Sure.
And it's nice to see positive stories. Obviously flooding's not positive, but raising money to help them.
Not the hurricane and the flooding.
Yeah. Draft bust redemption alert. Former draft bust, number 2 overall pick for the, I believe at the time, St. Louis Rams, Greg Robinson, has won the left tackle starting job for the Detroit Lions, edging out, wait for it, Cyrus Candinejo. Another draft bust by the Bills.
He got cut.
He did. And I'd like to apologize in advance for Detroit's run game and Matt Stafford's back. Because Greg Robinson stinks.
Dripping with sarcasm.
There's a lot of stinks today.
We're just getting started.
The draft bust redemption line, dripping with sarcasm. Everything else was pretty savage.
You're welcome. So week 3 preseason games. Let's recap, run through it. Philadelphia 38, Miami 31. The Cutler lit it up to Devontae Parker. So run out and get him in your fantasy leagues. Parker, that is. And Carson Wentz looked good again. The Eagles' running game really struggled again. Mm-hmm. So we shall see what happens. Ronald Darby didn't have an electric of a start as he did the week ago. However, I will point out, like I did to Tom pre-show, that the Devontae Parker touchdown was a clear push-off. It was offensive pass interference, which would have been called in the regular season. And the the pass interference in the end zone, I'll take a pass interference in the end zone versus a touchdown, a short touchdown, 7 days a week.
Sure.
So if you're all of a sudden panicking about Darby after a flashy start in his first game and a not-so-great start in the second game, don't worry. He's very much Asante Samuel, where he will give up some big plays, but don't worry.
When you have a good game here and then a bad game there,
mm-hmm.
When someone is as capable as Darby is, you're going to assume it's going to even out somewhere, hopefully closer to the good side.
Right.
Which I assume.
Absolutely. Carolina 24, Jacksonville 23. Bortles reclaimed his starting job, not because he looked good, because he threw technically two interceptions, one actual interception, and on a 2-point conversion attempt to win the game, he threw a interception on the 2-point try. But Chad Henne just also came out and looked flat and could not hit a big play. So Bortles kind of won the job by default. Brandon Allen, though, the third-string quarterback, got a standing ovation.
Really?
He did. New England 30, Detroit 28. Obviously, we talked about Julian Edelman going down. Chris Hogan went off for about 75 yards and 2 scores. Looking good, former Penn State lacrosse player. Obviously, he had a monster playoff season last year, and we shall see. The the New England fantasy players are always sketchy, but I would put my fantasy eggs in the basket of Amendola before Hogan, knowing that it could end up being the other way around. Also, Amir Abdullah looks like he's back from that foot injury, that mysterious foot injury that shut him down for the whole season. He had 13 carries for 60 yards, looked spry. He's clearly edged out Theo Riddick for the starting job. So if you're concerned from a fantasy perspective, put Theo Riddick on the back burner as a handcuff and go get yourself Amir Abdullah. I know I will. Kansas City 13, Seattle 26. Spencer Ware went down for the year, PCL injury. He is seeking a second opinion. I don't know if that ever came back, but I mean he's done for the year. There's really no question about it. Kareem Hunt is the guy you want to target now in fantasy. Alex Smith looked really flat, as did Patrick Mahomes. That won't stop the Kansas City faithful from rooting for Mahomes every single time Alex Smith has a 3-and-out or throws an interception or fumbles or what have you. Russell Wilson, 13 of 19 for 200 yards and 1 score. Looked like regular old Russell Wilson back to season form. I will say everyone's out there drafting Eddie Lacy and Thomas Rawls. Rawls still hasn't played in the preseason. I don't know what's going on with his injury. Maybe a little more than we think. Procise as well has also not played due to injury. Eddie Lacy kind of looked out of shape again. But the guy you want to watch is, and now this is a sleeper, Chris Carson has looked pretty electric for the Seattle Seahawks. So he's someone you want to keep an eye on. And I really wish I hadn't said that in front of Tom, because I kind of want to draft him on waivers in a 20-man league this week. So, Tom, earmuffs. Arizona 24, Atlanta 14. Atlanta looked flat. Arizona's defense really stymied their first unit. Matt Ryan's still Matt Ryan, but Steve Sarkisian is no Kyle Shanahan. They're probably really going to miss him this year as he's gone off to San Francisco in better weather pastures. John Brown has returned and looked really good coming off of that, really injury-plagued last year. And he's even, Arians and Brown have both admitted that he's still not 100%, but he went off for 2 scores pretty quick, and then they, got him out of the game. You obviously don't want to further injure him, but
It's smart.
Yeah. John Brown is fully draftable again, and I wouldn't worry too much. He's really going to be their deep threat like he was 2 years ago. Buffalo 9, Baltimore 13. Buffalo is sneaking up on me as a surprise candidate for the number 2 overall pick in the draft next year. They have looked pretty terrible, especially since the Sammy Watkins trade. Tyrod Taylor has looked way off his game, and he suffered a concussion during this game. He still remains in the concussion protocol, putting potentially his Week 1 status in doubt. Nathan Peterman out of Pitt, the rookie, looked good 2 weeks ago, not so much this week, but he's going to be the most popular guy in Buffalo should Tyrod Taylor struggle. Mm-hmm. Now, he did seem to have a connection with Zay Jones as they worked together with the second unit. Ryan Mallett still sucks.
Yes.
That's one of my notes I wrote. How Ryan Mallett still has a job in the NFL, no idea. I think I'm better than him.
Probably.
Jets 31 and Giants 32 in the MetLife Bowl. The Giants' defense was on fire. The Jets' offense was not.
Really?
This may have been a case of the Jets just being that bad, but the Giants' defense scored 3 times. A safety and 2 touchdowns. So, the Jets are in for a long year. So if you're in the New York area, you can get some Jets tickets probably pretty cheap. Get them third party though. Don't go through the team.
Pray that you guys get at least 2 wins.
Long football year is a good thing.
Yeah.
Not that kind though.
Not if Sam Darnold doesn't declare for the draft. So we shall see. Eli looked flat again. A little concerning. Eli hasn't looked right so far this preseason. And I know that's just speculation, and people always want to say that about their division rivals, but he's really looked off. I think there's something to it.
He misses Peyton being in the league.
I think he just misses Peyton, big bro. Indianapolis 19, Pittsburgh 15. Landry Jones came in and back from injury and solidified the number 2 job, as Josh Dobbs has struggled this preseason. But Landry Jones won't be there next year. And Scott Tolzien is still awful. Mm-hmm. So I think weeks and weeks ago we offered him like an assistant job on our podcast. That still stands. When they run him out of Indy for going 0-4 until Luck comes back.
Was that a note?
Maybe.
Okay.
Cleveland 13, Tampa Bay 9. DeShone Kizer, obviously his stock is rising. He won the starting job, looked pretty good. All the physical traits you want in a quarterback. He's my candidate to lead the NFL in interceptions this year, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think he's the kind of player that will...
For the Jets.
Well, I don't think they'll throw that much. I think the Jets will run on first through third down every drive. But Corey Coleman flashed with Kizer. They seem to have pretty good chemistry. Sleeper, maybe not necessarily such a sleeper, but Corey Coleman is a player who could really outshine his draft position. I know I got him pretty late in one of my drafts, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing him just kind of ball out. He had 4 catches for 66 yards. I know that's not going to wow anybody, but in a PPR league, hey, there's 10 points.
Well, he pretty much only played like a half, too.
Right,
so.
right. Tampa Bay looked rusty, and Dirk Cutter had them play into the fourth quarter, as he was less than pleased. So, only putting up 9 points against Cleveland, hey, that's a potent offense in Tampa Bay, and Cleveland's defense did a pretty good job. They're a scrappy and feisty bunch. Mm-hmm. I know Jabril Peppers had a pick, which was nice to see. Yeah, I'm not a Michigan fan, but Peppers was fun to watch. The battle for L.A. That's a thing now. Every preseason, the Chargers and Rams will play each other, as do the Jets and Giants. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a thing. The first battle for L.A. was won by the Chargers. Phillip Rivers, I don't think he had an incompletion. Keenan Allen looked like he is back. And Jared Goff returned to earth. After a pretty good, sharp first 2 preseason games, Jared Goff looked like he forgot how to play football. And Sean Mannion clearly outplayed him.
Goff fits on the Rams.
He certainly belongs. Kind of a side note, Aaron Donald's still not back from his holdout. He seems to be holding true. Best defensive tackle in the league. The Rams don't have him. Their defense is in trouble. It's particularly alarming if you drafted their defense like I did.
Did anybody draft Aaron Donald in the 20-man league?
Yes. Yeah, Aaron, of course. I mean, everybody fully expects him to actually come back by the time the season starts, but you never know. I actually expected the Rams to cave by now and pay the best defensive player in the NFL, arguably, a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's certainly better. You know, you look at I get that Fletcher Cox got a lot of money, but Donald is a far superior player. We shall see. Houston 0, New Orleans 13. Deshaun Watson went 11 for 21 for 116 yards and a pick. He has continued to look pretty consistently better, actually better than Tom Savage. Now, that's not saying he's looked good, but better than Tom Savage. However, Tom Savage is still the starter. Kudos to the Saints defense for pitching a shutout. I thought I said that 2 years ago.
That'll never happen during the regular season.
You never know. You never know. They have Alvin Kamara.
That means absolutely nothing for the defense.
They'll put him at corner, linebacker, D tackle. He's got this. No, but good for them. I believe Dennis Allen is running that defense now, former Raiders head coach. So, good for them. Oakland 20, Dallas 24. Derek Carr came out on fire, going 13 of 17 for $144 and 2 scores. I would actually target Derek Carr. His average draft position puts him in a really valuable slot. He's the kind of player you get outside of the top rounds, but still will probably put up MVP quarterback numbers for your team. My personal opinion.
There a wide receiver that comes with him you should pick?
Amari Cooper.
Man, I heard he's pretty good.
Yeah, he had about 78 yards and a score this week. And Cordarrelle Patterson showing back up in the NFL grid. Looks like he locked up the 3rd receiver gig. So if you're out there thinking Seth Roberts as a sleeper, change course and go Cordarrelle Patterson. Who went where? Where did Cordarrelle Patterson go to college?
Assuming Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Man, I was going to say Jersey.
Well, no, he didn't. But yeah, Cordarrelle Patterson. Also, if your league gives you points for kick returners, Cordarrelle Patterson is an excellent kick returner. Has been, probably always will be. Those Tennessee guys are pretty good. Cooper Rush. My positive notes for the Cowboys. Cooper Rush has locked down the number 2 job. If they give it to Kellen Moore, then they are ridiculously stupid.
I think they decided they were going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster.
Really? What? Kellen Moore must have blackmail on someone.
I know Scott Linehan likes him for some reason. Just
because
he was with the Lions when they.
I mean, he was like, he was the winningest quarterback in NCAA history. The light arm lefty, but man, he stinks.
It's like people liked Tim Tebow,
It's
but
true.
like they didn't tend to keep him. But New England and then Philadelphia signed him and then got rid of him before the season.
Yeah. I don't understand the Kellen Moore phenomena, but I'm all aboard Cooper Rush. I mean, I talked about him right after the draft. I think he
He's
has
on both of our lists, I think.
Yeah, I think he has the potential to be a good quarterback in the league. Unfortunately, the way the league is set up, he'll probably never get the chance to start. Undrafted free agents don't always. But, we'll see. Green Bay 17, Denver Broncos 20. The return of Jamal Charles in charge. He had 4 carries for 27 yards.
Yeah.
You guys don't look impressed. No, they basically he had 4 carries. He made some players miss, and he kind of looked like the old Jamal Charles. And Vance Joseph saw enough and said, "Okay, I'm not going to let you get hurt, taking you out of the game."
He had a scary looking cut.
That's 7 yards per carry. That's not bad.
So can't complain there. Well, yeah, but that scary looking cut he bounced back from.
Yeah.
It looked, like I said, he looked like Jamal Charles, which was really nice considering I drafted him in one of my leagues. I do believe in Jamal Charles. I think he will split with C.J. Anderson because for whatever reason, the Denver Broncos like C.J. Anderson. That'll change. Jamal Williams, rookie running back, looked pretty good out of the backfield. I kind of expected him to be more of a thumper. He had 3 catches for 46 yards. And, of course, Brett Hundley went out there and shined like he does in the preseason.
Typical backup quarterback for the Packers.
Yeah, he'll probably get traded for 8 first-round picks. Joking. Chicago 19, Tennessee 7. Glennon's clearly best game as a Chicago Bear. Obviously, we talked about Cameron Meredith, his serious injury. I mean, it was so bad they didn't even replay the injury. It was pretty gruesome. But look out for Kendall Wright, Victor Cruz, and Kevin White. Well, the combination of that should pick up some targets. I really don't expect them to be a prolific passing offense this year. Everything's going to run through Jordan Howard. Yeah. So I do think Glennon did enough, air quotes, to air quotes earn the starting position for the Chicago Bears, but I really don't see Trubisky not starting by week 5.
Unless Glenn lights it up.
Like I said.
Him and Kendall Wright, hopefully.
Yeah, Trubisky over the course of the entire preseason has looked better than Mike Glennon, and while that completely shocks me, I wasn't on the Trubisky bandwagon.
Along with everybody else.
Along with everyone else,
except for the
except for Chicago, and I think Pace is still their general manager.
Clearly, they were Team Trubisky. They paid for him, didn't they?
They paid a steep price to get him, and hey, we'll see what happens. And I think he'll start sooner rather than later. So if you're thinking about drafting Mike Glennon, you might want to wait. Cincinnati 17, Washington 23. Fat Rob had a pretty good game. That's Rob Kelly, starting running back for the Redskins. He's clearly put Samaje Perine behind him, and he's the clear-cut starter from a fantasy perspective. Go ahead and draft Rob Kelly, and then if I was drafting a second running back from Washington, I'd go Chris Thompson. He adds value on third down that Rob Kelly really doesn't. But Fat Rob went off for 10 for 57 and a score. Good for him. One thing that was really interesting to see from Cincinnati, Andy Dalton to A.J. Green looked really crisp. And even with just having John Ross on the field, even though he's not fully healthy, it's going to create major distraction. And A.J. Green is probably going to have a good year. He's one of the players that I never draft because he can disappear at times. But with the addition of John Ross, I think A.J. Green has pretty solid value. Not that he didn't already. I mean, most people draft him in the second round. So go ahead and get yourself an A.J. Green. And Andy Dalton might have himself a good year too. Tyler Eifert's healthy. John Ross, Tyler Boyd. He's got some weapons. They've quickly retooled from the lack of letting Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu walk.
He's still ugly.
Hey man, he has no soul. He's a ginger.
No comment.
Fair enough. San Francisco 31, Minnesota 32 in one of the more entertaining games of the preseason. Brian Hoyer, the Hoyer hype train, all aboard. 12 for 17, 176 yards, and 2 scores, 2 of which were pretty nifty throws, one of which went to Keith Goodwin, who's one of my sleepers for the season. Marquise Goodwin, wide receiver, roasted the corner for Minnesota, so something to look forward to. I think he is a clone for Taylor Gabriel, and I think will play a very similar role. He's the kind of guy that could really outplay his draft position. I mean, he's not even getting drafted in most leagues. I'm not saying run out and grab him in the top rounds, but if you're on your last pick and you really need a wide receiver and bye weeks are a problem, San Francisco has a pretty good bye week in 11, so grab yourself Marquise Goodwin. And Jerick McKinnon may have locked down the second running back position. I mean, Latavius Murray still on the mend, and McKinnon looked really explosive, and I think he had a 104-yard kick return for a touchdown. So Jerick McKinnon doing good things for Minnesota. I think Minnesota's going to have a good year, which really pains me to say because I really can't stand Sam Bradford.
Yeah, I was going to say, eventually they'll get a good quarterback, too.
Yeah, one day. So we shall see what happens, We're just keeping it light, keeping it frosty. So what do you guys think? Preseason week 4 is here. It's upon us. You guys ready to rock and roll for the season?
I'm ready.
Absolutely.
I won't be here for week 1, but I'm ready.
That's right. Tom's going on a cruise. If you're out there in the Caribbean, Tom?
If that's what the Bahamas is, then yes.
This is the actual honeymoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a late honeymoon. It's an increasingly popular thing in the United States of America. It's interesting. But no, congrats, Tom. And, you've got what? You'll be here next week, and then you won't be here the following week, right?
That is true.
Well, we won't miss you. We won't miss you.
I get to see the first game of the season, but...
Oh, good for you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you leave the 10th. There you go. Yeah, how about you, Bill? You ready to launch?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
be good.
Sure.
Give me your completely off the cuff Super Bowl. Who's playing?
Super Bowl ring.
The Super Bowl?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah, who do you got?
Or, next year, because it's 2018.
Yeah, it's technically in 2018.
Yeah. I am thinking the Oakland Raiders.
Nice.
And the Philadelphia Eagles.
I love it. Rematch. Back when we played them down in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
We didn't happen to win that game.
No.
But,
Details.
Whatever. That's awesome. I agree.
Of course you do.
You heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles, Raiders. Eagles win by the final score of 28-24.
Visit your local book now.
Mm-hmm. Tom?
What's up?
Who do you got?
I'm going to go Packers, Raiders.
Yeah, a lot of love for the Raiders. I like it.
I think that Edelman injury is going to be a lot tougher than people are giving it credit for.
Yeah.
Even Brady came out and said it was a tough night for him after Edelman went down. I'm
shedding a tear right now.
Yeah. So, that's his go-to guy.
Clearly. Well, yeah, that's that's the news around the league. That's what happened, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Taco Charlton still stinks. Derek Barnett has
tacos,
looked.
Though.
He looks. Derek Barnett. Since we're Cowboys Eagles here, I have to say Derek Barnett looks leaps and bounds better than Taco Charlton.
He was drafted 14 spots ahead of him.
Well, there you go. Just took that opportunity to rub it in.
He is a lot better. Probably more than 14 spots better.
Yeah. So, good luck to the Cowboys and their non-existent defense. But hey, you guys have Justin Durant to fill the void of Anthony Hitchens.
Nah, we'll rush Jalen Smith back.
Well, it's good you bring that up. Jalen Smith looked pretty good in his debut. Didn't play much, but the guy clearly loves football, and it was nice to see him return from that injury.
Sure.
So, well, thanks for joining us. I'm Dylan. Tom and Bill are here, and we're all ready to sign off, and we're having a great time. Fantastic. We're ready for football. Should I keep talking like that?
Go ahead.
October 29th.
October 29th. That's going to be a good game. The Bill birthday game. That's what we're going to call it.
So, they were discussing that on the radio. That's that's one game when they were talking about the Eagles. They're just going to win that game. Other games they definitely can win. That's the one they're definitely going to win.
Hey, we're one of the only teams to stymie the Kyle Shanahan offense last year. I was at that Falcons game that we won.
But it wasn't led by Brian Hoyer last year.
That's true. Matt Ryan, Brian Hoyer, they're on the same level. Anywho, thanks for joining us. Make sure you check back next week. Subscribe, share, do all that stuff. Instagram and Twitter at DBC_football. Podcast episode 18. YouTube, DBC Football, web, dbcfootball.com. It's all good. It's all good stuff.
It's all good.
Stop neglecting the blog. We'll get some stuff on there. Got some pictures to upload. We'll do that. So, yeah. Again, be on the lookout for next week's episode. Thanks so much for joining us. And please do listen, like, subscribe, and share. We really appreciate it. See you next time. Bye.